One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the live stream with Sally. Sally, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about your wonderful podcast?
Yeah, so I'm Sally. I do No Holds Barred podcast with Don McGowan. We met shouting on Twitter. We're very left. We basically just don't like people being in pain and dying so that a handful of billionaires can have more money than Croesus because it seems insane. So every week we iron out the truth and discuss everything behind the headlines, the real news.
And when did you guys start the podcast?
About 6 months ago. I think we're on episode 32 came out today, but some weeks we've done two because we talk and talk. And you could go forever, couldn't you, with the amount of news we've got drowning us? So,
It's
yeah. And
either
we do have guests on who
good,
talk
good.
about specific things.
And who, tell us about some of the guests you've had recently.
Oh, well, we've only been going for 6 months, so everything's pretty recent. We had Super Tan, bless her, filled in episode 4 for me because my dog died quite suddenly.
I'm
So that was a
sorry.
bit desperate. We had a lovely life. She was fine. We had Liz Webster on. We've had I'm going brain freeze here. We had Luke Halvey on from Refugee. I can't remember the name of the charity.
I know,
Sorry.
yeah, the Charity for Refugees, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, everyone's been really amenable. It's been quite surprising to us. A bit like
Sometimes.
Donna's investigative journalism because he's found that it's not hard to scratch the surface.
So,
It
so,
just isn't.
so you're an interesting character. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So you told me before we jumped on this that you used to work at the Spectator.
I know, it sounds mad, doesn't it? Well, to start off with, I had a very difficult childhood growing up with Tory parents, and we are in the exact environment that I grew up in now, being entirely gaslit and very much a second-class citizen. So to me, it's a bit like, oh, right, well, I've been and studied this in psychology and I know what's going on here. So this is all very wrong. But I didn't get into politics until I've always been aware, but probably about 10 years ago when I had to give up work because of illness. And I was like, this is not the social contract I was aware of. What the hell is going on? And it just got worse year on year. And of course, we all know what happened the last 15 years. But I went to London at like 24, 5, and I just needed, I left school with no qualifications and I jobbed my way into being a PA and worked my way up. And the London salary was just that much higher than any other city in the country. So I moved to London. Um, and just wanted a decent job. And yeah, I ended up working at the Spectator. I mean, it was a patsy position, unbeknownst to me at the time, obviously, and most people. Um, but yeah, I had 6 months working for the woman who was made pregnant by David Blunkett and then was sacking off loads of her meetings to go and meet David Blunkett and blaming her useless PA for double booking her or for forgetting to inform of her an appointment, or everything was my fault and none of it was my fault. The gaslighting thing, Tory gaslighting thing again, or the entitled gaslighting, I guess, because she was allegedly a lefty Kimberly 48 Quinn or whatever she calls herself now. Um, but there was a succession of PAs before and after me. The lady I took over from had been there for 2 years, and most PAs lasted half a day or a day, a week at max, and then when I'm not putting up, it was just like even now I can hear her accent, Sally, shrill American tone screaming me into her office. And then it was only when Andrew Neil bought the Spectator off, I think was it the Barclay brothers or Conrad Black or whoever it was back then. Um,
Some rich person.
yeah, he basically went, "What's with this turnover?" And apparently he actually, and it was Boris's PA, as still is, I swear, she must still be his PA, and to this day. We were really good pals because she was from Bury, I'm from Liverpool, and we just got on really, really well. She came from nothing, which is why she's remained loyal to him because he gave her the opportunity when they met at the Telegraph. So she's entirely loyal to him, whatever comes or goes, which is why when the WhatsApp message thing was going on, I was like, oh, I know how clever that woman is. I know how good she is at her job. This is a I won't say it because I don't want to demonetize you. Nonsense. And yeah, the stories I could tell.
Maybe we'll have you back another time for more of the stories. But it is interesting. It's interesting because from the outside we have this idea that it's all very professional and that very competent people are in charge. When in
Oxford and Cambridge, darling, that's the place of education. You wanna bet?
Like the idea that it's a turnover of 1 or 2 days is insane. But it's sort of understandable if you think about the people who are involved. Cavan Ladd, I want to say thanks for that support there. Cavan Ladd sent us a bit of support. So let's jump into some of the things that have been happening this week. So I'd love to get your opinion on them. So allegedly, before we came online, Keir Starmer wants to take on Nigel Farage directly by he may want to carry out an investigation into Reform UK itself and its links to Russia. So what do you think about that?
Brilliant. Where's he been for the last 2 years?
Or 10 even.
And why is he not just saying, to begin with, let's release the Russia report?
Yes.
Let's start with where it started, with the Tories, and work our way out, because I reckon it's probably all connected. Call me a cynic.
No, but I think you're right, because it was until recently the Tories they had their friends of Russia, and was it Boris Johnson? I often joke, like, Boris Johnson received £150,000, I think it was, from the wife of one of Putin's ministers or ex-ministers to play tennis.
Tennis, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then I was thinking maybe she paid all this money to play tennis with Boris Becker, and she got Boris Johnson instead.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Your mic is too loud, Max. Let me see if I can do something about that. Apologies for that, guys. I think my filter is a little bit too high, so I'll reduce that.
I thought you were just very high energy tonight.
No, I'm never high energy. Sally's voice is very, very quiet. Oh, okay.
I'll turn that up. Sorry, it's on cat pod setting because she comes along and nudges it when I'm chatting. So I have to just take the sticky tape.
I love in the chat because people will say your
voice.
Voice sounds okay to me, so I'll just ask the people in chat if it's fine. Do we need to increase the volume? I love in the chat because people will say that your volume is too low, and then I start adjusting it, and they say no, it was fine, and then I'm like, yeah, I've already adjusted it.
What you hearing, Aidan, Kev?
I can hear you both fine, so maybe it depends on the individuals who are listening. So this thing about Donald, I was going to say Donald Trump. Maybe we'll talk about Donald Trump at some stage, but about
we have to.
About Nigel Farage. So released the Russia report. The big problem with the Russia report, of course, was that there was no investigation done into connections, influenced by the Russians. Do you think it was this Russian boat that was monitored off the coast of Scotland this week? Do you think that could have been something that triggered it, or is it just the polls?
like there isn't enough evidence already that it takes them. Did we pull that ship in and take it?
The last I heard that it was the last I heard it was being shadowed by a British frigate, but I don't know if I haven't seen any more than that. Russian yachts, says Suzanne.
I love the idea of the fact that Nigel Farage wants us to sit here and believe that Russia went, oh, you found an into British politics, you found some imbeciles you think you can recruit. Okay, well, the budget's £30,000 sterling, that's all you're allowed to spend. What are the chances of that being reality?
Well, someone said the Farage would work for free, so...
Yeah, well, it's a loss leader, isn't it? I think that Supetansky said that. So. It's just insane. And as somebody pointed out to me the other day, you can guarantee we've got spies over there trying to do exactly the same thing.
Yes, of course. But everyone has spies everywhere. Like, this idea that the Chinese, oh my goodness, the Chinese have spies in Britain. Every country has spies. If you can afford the spies are there. So it's normal. It's happening. How many times have we heard about the US spying on Britain as well? So it's even your allies are spying on you. But it is concerning it is concerning about the connections with with Russia, between Reform and Russia. They go back many
Yeah.
years, I think, like during the time when
Well,
Farage was in.
MEP days, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And it's not just that. Of course, there's a focus on Farage and the Brexit Party, UKIP, but there's also other parties in Europe that were getting money from the Kremlin as well, or being invited to the Kremlin for
It'll be in every country,
for meetings.
Every country they've got a particular interest in, which will be a lot.
But I think it's about creating division, because if your enemy is divided, then it's easier to, to defeat them.
Oh, Brexit.
Yeah.
Would Brexit have happened without Russian interference? Oh, fucking that. Sorry.
No. You can.
doubt it.
You can. It's there's no censorship here. Very very external expressions at the RTE news desk. Honestly, you think that we aren't constantly probing their defenses too? Yeah, I think that's the case. But no one is reacting.
They've sat on their hands since July. It's baffling to me. But
do you see it going anywhere? Do you see an actual investigation into Farage and Reform? Because I think there's a risk that it could backfire. So the way that when it came to Trump, there was there was smoke and there was fire, but it didn't do any damage to Trump, and it didn't when it came to the election in 2020, Trump lost because of the economy. He lost because people were not happy with his handling of COVID. It wasn't really about Russia. So my fear is that, yes, you need to investigate Reform, you need to investigate Farage, but I think it needs to be something done in a professional way, but less political, because I'm afraid what it could do is it could actually help Farage, because he'd say, look, I'm the victim here. I'm being, the government are afraid. Labour are losing in the polls. They're using this as a tool against me. And I think in a way it could actually help. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Do you think it could actually help Farage?
I had a really good bit to line up then.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's my brain. It's very wonky. Just go back a minute. We were talking about the Trump Farage link, weren't we?
Yeah, so I was saying, like in America, there was, in the run up to the election, it was about the economy and not about Russia.
That was it. Sorry, I don't understand the enmeshment of laws and politicians, and you can't criminalize like political opponents. I'm sorry, they're not immune from the fucking law. That's a nonsense. That's like, oh, you can't expect billionaires to pay more tax. That's that line. It's all it is. It's just a veil.
No, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be investigated, but I have a fear that there's a risk that it could turn him into some sort of victim, and then he'll say...
But that's because people use that line, isn't it? You
Yeah.
can't politically persecute people. It's not political persecution. It's following the law.
Yeah.
He happens to be a politician who has broken the law. Undoubtedly, I'm going to put my neck on the block and say that at some point they will find some criminality on that man, because he's just... Well,
I think he's been protected a lot by the media over the last number of years. So, you notice when he goes on foreign media, he's torn to shreds. But when he's on the BBC or ITV or even Sky News, he's treated with, kid gloves.
What I would say, just to back up, because I don't want to sound like a crazy person, I'm talking from the perspective of somebody who we've built up like a little gang of people on No Holds, of people that investigate, don't really want to put their face to it, but they're going and doing the investigative work. And the links between Reform and dirty money through like Kyrgyzstan and Moldova and Eastern Bloc countries, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it that the trails are there for people to investigate, which is why I'm saying, to me, knowing what I know, having followed, I want to say one finance guy on X, but there's Don and I have retweeted a lot of it. There's a lot of investigative work going on just on regular people who sort of know the channels to look into, and it's unbelievable where they get their money from. Don McGowan on Substack, he's written a lot about it. It is mind blowing. Just that they're basically doing it in broad daylight, almost.
But I imagine it's like we're able to sell you access to Nigel Farage because Nigel Farage will be Prime Minister. So if you donate through these channels, of course you can't donate directly because it's illegal or it will be seen. So we do it through alternative routes, and then when he becomes Prime Minister, you'll have his ear. It's like with the Conservatives. The Conservatives were selling favors.
It's had 15 years of it and it hasn't stopped, has it?
Yeah,
it's still ongoing.
And unfortunately,
we need to make...
No, also unfortunately, we've seen it also with the Labour Party where people were making massive donations and getting something in return.
I mean, we were talking about Boris Johnson's lying this week on the pod, and I was saying, where's the bar? Like, how many pathological lies did he have to tell before they finally went, right, we've had enough, get in, give us your pass? Why are we not? The consequences are there. The mechanisms to pull people up for lying on Hansard are there. They do not get used. And we have impropriety widespread, and everything's fallen apart, and no one's been held to account for anything.
No, you're right. No, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the chat here. He's like Boris in that he's managed to get away with all the crap that he's been doing in his life without facing any consequences. Yeah. But I think it comes back to this thing of privilege as well. Like, these are people who went to private schools. They were born with silver spoons in their mouth, and they have this idea that, well, we're allowed to get away with it because we are better than everyone else.
They're special. Yeah, they're very special. I mean, did you see that tweet about Tice before, about his A-level results?
No, I didn't see that. What was that?
Oh, he's so privileged and so entitled, man. He thinks he should be able to run the country with A-levels in politics and economics at E. An E he got.
An E.
An E. And he was educated at a £50,000 a year school.
I've often described, I think it was Graham Hughes described Eton.
Private school mafia.
Yeah, or I think he said Britain has an Eton disorder. I've said that Eton should be a prescribed organisation, considering the amount of damage. It's killed more people than Palestine Action has.
When you put it like that, it's absolutely accurate.
Well, like considering how many people did the Tories kill with austerity? 300? 350,000?
Oh, no, because it started in 2010. People seem to just count it from the pandemic. It started in 2010 with disabled and sick people being put on the death slide on benefits and being sanctioned and starved to death. And then it picked up with the pandemic. I must retweet an article from the New Statesman about 3 times a week for the last years because it counts the full. Because it's not just people dying of COVID, and it's people dying because services are being withdrawn. I was talking the other week. We're at the point now where there's a girl on palliative end-of-life care for anorexia. That's a treatable disease if the treatments are available. They're not anymore. I know, because I've had to go and get them for myself, technically because of other illnesses. And there are no treatments. You can have some Ensure or a Hickman line if you're that bad, and you can have a group chat once a week, and that's all that's left. They don't even have people. They used to have, apparently, people doing home visits for people with eating disorders, but that's long since gone. So that's where we are now. That's how these deaths mount up, because they are preventable deaths.
And what is the media talking about? What are people talking about? Fucking small boats.
They don't give a shit. They never have done.
When there are people
literally where I come from, because no one else will talk about it. It's crackers. And we're also paid the lowest disability benefits in all of Europe, with the highest cost of living crisis. And yes,
and then energy bills are going up as well. Ofgem have increased the energy cap, so it means basically prices are going to go up again.
Those poor oil executives, they must really be struggling.
It was the guy with the sort of weird moustache who was like saying, "Yeah, I'm paid like £3 million a year," and
the go compare knobhead. Is that who you mean? Or is it? Oh, no, I know who you mean. The real executive knobhead. Yeah. I saw him at the Select Committee last year. He's a prick. With a capital purr.
I see parallels with yourself and Super Tan. Very, very, very close pal.
I'm glad you said that. Do you know what an Uber driver said to me the other day? And he was being friendly. And he started the conversation about politics in my tag, because that's what happens these days. It's great. He said, "You remind me, and I don't mean to offend you, of Katie Hopkins."
Oh my goodness! How do you say? I don't mean to offend you.
And I went, "You what?" And I said, "Well, I'm blunt and I swear a lot, but that's where the similarity ends, mate."
No, that's
this
terrible.
works just about.
That's a massive difference. Anyway, let's move on to another topic. I'd like to get your take on Your Party. So anyone who doesn't know, Your Party is crashing and burning. Oh, well, what is Your Party? It's not my party, it's Your Party. It's this party set up by Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana to represent, people who've been left behind, or to stand up for the most vulnerable in society. But it seems to be falling apart because the two of the MPs that were, I think they were conservative. They were conservative Muslims. I don't know what conservatives would be doing in a left-wing party, but one of them was a landlord and the other was a businessman of some sort. I'm not sure, or maybe both of them were landlords. I'm not sure.
Massive socialists.
No, not exactly. So, do you see this thing lasting until Christmas, or have you been following it? Have you guys been discussing it on the podcast?
I went from like jubilant excitement of the left having the biggest open goal it's ever had in the history of the world, for them to just step into and do what basically Zach's doing now, and they absolutely fucked it repeatedly with ego. That's not people who can run a country, and I'm devastated. That's it.
Do you think it's the ego that's the problem? Yeah.
Yes, I do. I mean, and the other thing, which I feel a bit mean, because I used to be Zara Sultana, young and full of energy and thinking I could change the world. and then people would say to me, "Oh, you're a bit young," and I'd be like, "Fuck off." But then the stuff she's been tweeting lately, I can't remember what it was she tweeted the other day, but it was just childish nonsense, like basically saying to Dan Wootton, "your ma," or something like that. But it was really like, that's not how politicians talk, love. It's just not. They don't,
unless you're Donald Trump,
without having a consensus opinion either. Twice.
Yeah, it sounds like, oh, look, this is what Donald Trump is doing. He's successful. Let's emulate that. But it doesn't work like that.
Oh, no. There are ways and means of doing it, and they absolutely buggered it. But they've given Zach an open goal, and I just think he's amazing. Yeah.
So, like, what do you like about Zach? Because I want to keep it as balanced as possible. So, is there anything he can improve? So, I think we're both fans of Zach. I want to see him succeed, but I think it's important to look at, maybe, is there anything you think that he's not doing well or he's not doing right? Is there anything he could improve on?
No, you can always do better. We can always improve, and that's the perfectionist curse, unfortunately. The only thing I would say about Zach is that I think he's doing everything right. He's got balls, and that's the difference. He's got balls, and there's nothing anyone can throw at him. He got hoodwinked by a Sun journalist once. That's it. That's all they've got on him. But he's one man, and he needs to bring people through with him, if you know what I mean. Sort of what would be the cabinet / shadow cabinet. He needs to bring people like him through, because one voice isn't enough. We need lots more.
Although I
in politics.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, it seems to be at the moment. It seems to be somewhat of a one-man band, and there are other people, but they're not getting. But I don't know if it's their fault. I don't know if it's his fault, or I don't know if it's the media's fault, because the media select who to have on their shows. So, and maybe he's seeing what Farage is doing and saying, look, we should try and copy some of that as well. Not to be like the policies, or not to be like Farage as a charlatan, but I think they're seeing how they're able to use the media. Like something I really like what Zach has been doing recently is everyone who criticizes him, he takes a screenshot of it and retweets it and adds, join the Green Party. So and the people who are criticizing, and the people who are criticizing him are like really disconnected from reality. They're people who went to private schools, or they're people who are multimillionaires, or they're people who work for the Spectator, or they're people who work for the Telegraph, and they think they're knocking him down. But instead, what they're doing is they're actually helping him out, because they're so dumb that they think, if I'm living in my mansion and I call this guy a communist, that's going to turn people off him. Like they don't understand the realities of ordinary people, and they don't understand his appeal. His appeal is that he's telling people
he's a realist.
He's talking to people in their language. Now, I think it's important not to create a cult. So I think it's important that we always take a step back and say, okay, also to hold him to account, because it's important that what he says, he's able to deliver it, or he's able to influence it. I don't think he wants to be prime minister. I don't think he's expecting to be prime minister. I think it's more about, like Farage, influencing the politicians.
It's pulling the Overton window back is what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job, but he can't push it alone. He needs to, I don't know, we need to give,
Do you think it should be more people within the Green Party?
Ramsay needs to get into a fight and develop a personality.
I said in the past what a good way to get people talking is to do something really out there. So I said in the past, what Keir Starmer should have done when Boris Johnson was prime minister, would near the microphone go, "For fuck's sake, Boris," and then it'd be like, "Oh, sorry," and then this would go viral, and then people would be talking about it. So you should do.
He did it with sausages.
Yeah, sausages. Release the sausages. Somebody asked in the chat, does he have enough mainstream media visibility? I think it's increasing. I don't think it's enough. But sorry, Sally, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that does seem from the output to be what all they've been concentrating on. And I think that's wise. I just don't think it's all they can do. But unlike Reform, they can pull different strategies in. Reform are just a one trick, just get all the headlines pony. But that will wear thin. It already is. 3 press conferences a week. They've got 5 MPs and no policies. I mean,
they're anti-immigration. That's their policy. No.
How is anyone taking this seriously? We've got to stop manifesting them into reality. The more we talk about it, the more chance that there is that And we laugh at them.
Yeah, I was just thinking, as somebody was saying earlier this week, it was about, does Reform have a shadow cabinet? I was thinking, how? They don't have enough MPs.
They are the shadow.
But it's if they did try to create some sort of shadow cabinet, Lee Anderson would have 12 briefs or something like that. He'd have more briefs than he has underpants. No, just looking
at fun to get him to watch him being laughed at so heartily in PMQs. That was the only snippet I've watched.
What was it he said? Be a man to Keir Starmer.
I have no idea. He's just a bell, isn't he? He's just a walking disaster zone, that man.
Do you think he pretends to be like that, or do you think it comes natural?
Do you know what? I don't know. There was a weird one. PMQs, not the last one, the one before, when it was when they invited Farage to apologise for the Reform councillor calling kids in care evil. And Farage and Tice were sitting there laughing like school kids. It was unbelievable given the context of the conversation, what was being talked about. And Lee was sat there looking very unamused. Still haven't figured it out. It was just a bit... He's not one of them, and he knows he is not one of them.
No, listen, I didn't see that, so that's interesting.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall between them, just to see what the dynamics really are.
Because he's somebody who appeals more. I wouldn't say much, but I would imagine he's somebody who appeals more to the working class than Farage and Tice. That's why. That's why he's there. He's their mascot.
Yeah.
So if they're laughing at sent children, I think even So either he was zoned out and he wasn't listening, or he actually understood. No, this is not good. Because they don't care. They
No.
they don't see them as any value. So it's
No,
quite
oh
sad.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. Well, no. You see, yeah, I know where you're coming from. It's quite sad. The man's like very clearly a sandwich short of a picnic. But he's volunteered himself every time, every party he's been with, Max. He's not. No one's made him do it. He chose to get into a nest of vipers.
Yeah.
You make your own bed, don't you? And the consequences that those people have on others is unforgivable, and they don't care. They're sadists.
Anyway, how to deal with them? Maybe the millionaires need to be taxed. So you had an interesting week, didn't you? You were out. Where did you go and visit? You met with the patriotic millionaires. So can you tell us a bit about who the patriotic millionaires are?
They're a gang of millionaires who think that they should be taxed more because they want to have a nicer country.
But then why don't they just
sick and
write?
suffering people?
Why don't they write a check to the
Because
inland
they want to
revenue?
make it equitable across the board, as it should be. I don't. This is what I'm saying to Don this week. Delighted to support them, honoured to have been invited down, and all the rest of it. I don't think it goes far enough because I think if the government were going to take it on, it would be under a one and done. Please don't go. It'll just be this once thing. It's not enough.
No.
We need to tax them. It needs to by every multiple of X millions. I don't know. I'm not an economist or an accountant, but you can't. This is what they've done with corporations. They keep putting up profit margins and profit targets while cutting spending. And at some point, that stretch is going to break.
But
Now,
there's also there's
they've
also sorry, go on, yeah.
I was just going to say they've created higher inflation, so the cost of everything goes up. So, of course, the cost of running the country and having a stable NHS is going to go up because of all the financial jiggery pokey that's earned you all your fucking money.
Yeah.
So, it's the equivalent of asking you or me for an extra fiver
Yeah.
because they have that much money and it will make no material difference to them. As the decent millionaires are very aware, we're asking for buttons.
But
And it,
like an argument that I always put forward is like, people who have become extremely wealthy, they've benefited as a result, as a consequence of
yeah,
taxes, fully funded public services. When we hear about, oh well, this person, I think it was the former president or former CEO of Sainsbury's was interviewed, and I think he was speaking to Zach. He was on a panel with Zach Polanski. But I was thinking how he said, "Yeah, I'm really successful. I work hard every day. I put in the hours. Yeah, but if you decided tomorrow, I don't feel very well, and I'll stay at home." You could do it for a week. You could do it for a year, and you'd still be okay. But the person who's on the supermarket floor, cleaning the floors, packing the shelves, they don't have that luxury. They, in some cases, I'm not sure about Sainsbury's, but in some cases with supermarkets, people, as we know, some of them are not earning enough to get by, so they have to rely on support from the state. So you have in-work benefits. In-work benefits was a thing that is a new thing. It's not something that had always existed. And it's there to top up wages in a sense, not sufficiently, but to top up wages a bit because the wages are too low or the conditions are too harsh. And even if you're a capitalist, you should be against this because you're saying, well, we're paying these companies to keep wages low. This is insane.
it's 30% of the welfare bill is universal credit paid to top up slave wages, and they complain that we've got what's it they say? The welfare bill is unfeasible. It's too expensive. Well, hang on a minute there. Let's talk about this welfare bill. It's bollocks. It's all they're harvesting everything for big corp and they're industrializing society. We talked about it with Liz Webster. We used to have all these little private vets. Now everything's under a big brand name that they've all been brought together and bought out by private equity. I had to get a t-shirt printed to go and see the millionaires. And I went round 4 t-shirt printing businesses that I used to know existed and they've all closed down. And I know stuff's gone online, but these little businesses, they can't afford to run anymore. And it's increasing regardless of the particular line of Oh, lost words. It doesn't matter what you're selling, your business is going to struggle because of the economic conditions.
Yeah. No, but
And the
but you
smaller you are, the more you're going to struggle.
no, no, but what
And
you're
they
saying,
don't care. They're
yeah.
ramping it up.
No, no, but you're saying there about the vet as well. It sound it really hit me because I realized there's a lot of the small places are closing down and they're being taken over by companies who just
It's
open a
venture
business.
capitalists.
Yeah, venture capitalists. They say, oh, here's a market here. Let's invest in
Yeah.
this, and then we'll hire people to work as the staff, and then we make all the money out of it. While in the past, at least, the person who was making the money was the person who ran the business, and maybe they had their
Yeah.
family or they had brought on people from the local community to work in it, and it was, it wasn't making massive profits, but it was surviving. It was doing okay, and then people spent the money in the local area and it was reinvested in the business. But now, and I think this is another thing with housing, we don't hear much about it.
Yeah.
I don't know in the UK,
Perfect example.
but in Ireland, for example, a statistic I read was about 40% of new houses are bought up by hedge funds, by
What
venture capitalists. So
do you
if
think all that investment from BlackRock was for?
exactly. So this is not, so even if you build more homes, like, of course the right will blame, oh, it's immigrants, the immigrants are the problem. But even if you build more homes, if they're not being made available for ordinary people and they're being bought up by corporations, then it doesn't matter how many more you build. You're never going to succeed in providing enough homes for people. And then you have this euphemism of affordability or affordable homes. Sorry, Sally, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, just it's vaguely related. I sort of try and take time out because I don't have a lot of energy and I've got a lot of medical conditions. So I spend a lot of time stuck in bed and I watch a lot of YouTube. And for time out, away from politics and that, I watch like anything that doesn't have anything to do with politics. So watching these Explorer videos, the amount of multi-millionaire properties that are sitting empty and abandoned, especially in London, would blow your mind. They're basically just banks for their money, while there's people struggling and homeless, and these largely foreigners. James Corden's got one actually in Henley with his 45 acres and 10 bedrooms, just sitting there waiting for him to redevelop it.
Does he have like 10 children? Because he needs 10
Hmm.
bedrooms now.
Oh, he wants to knock it down and rebuild it because it is a bit knackered. It's fascinating, these videos. Maybe I'm just a nosy Parker. But these properties are just sitting there because they're just somewhere for people to hide their bloody money.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
Is and
And
the
they,
issue also I mentioned with people on the channel before about land banking, where the developers
yeah,
buy the land and just sit on it because they know that it's more profitable just to buy the land and sell it off with planning permission than to actually build homes on it. Because if you build the homes, then there's the cost involved in building the homes, and then there's a risk that maybe the contractor goes bankrupt, and then you're left with half built properties that you can't sell and stuff like that. So it's cheaper just to sit on it, wait for the price to go up, and sell it to another developer.
but that's the problem with IHTs, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because as much as we all, I think the majority of people think everyone should pay the fair amount of tax. The IHT thing that the government were bringing in was going to encourage big corps to buy up medium-sized farms. So it didn't work. It doesn't work because for the people who will need to sell up, the likes of Bill Gates will just come along and go, oh, thanks, because he needs to supply all the potatoes to McDonald's. How is that a thing? But he does
Yeah.
in America. Uh, you know, so we're yeah. I don't know if you've seen 2073, but that's what we're
The
on course for.
Blade Runner, is it? No.
No, 2073. It came out, I think, in December. It's Carol Cadwalladr's in it and various other people. It's a docudrama. Samantha Morton stars in it, and it basically takes us from here on our trajectory of where things are going to end up. And we ain't seen dystopia yet, but we will.
Oh God.
Psychology. Like, I've had a rough life, and it's led me to some very interesting conclusions that I wasn't confident enough on in myself. So I went around and sought professional opinion on theories I have, and can this be the case? Am I reading this right? And I've spoken to a lot of psychologists, and current thinking is that on this trajectory with Trump the way he is, and with the far right trying to do what they're trying to do, and with Big Corp trying to industrialize society, we've got 200 years left as a species. Now, that might sound alarmist, and I'm not even bringing climate change into that, but that will be a part of it, obviously. But just on the depopulating, this 15 years isn't a coincidence. And I said all along, I thought we were a pilot for something. And I'm not saying I was right, but America does seem to be taking what the Tories did and supercharging it, in that they're just pushing people off the cliff of life because they've got too many people and their benefits welfare bill can't cope with it.
I'm really.
Or they're just mindless mass murderers. It's one or the other. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just choose your poison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's really sad, like what's happening with you. Like the Tories imposed austerity. It killed hundreds of thousands at least, or a million, as you said.
I'll say
And now they want to be back in to do more of it, because what are they selling? Well, the welfare bill is too big. They don't mention that a lot of that is pensioners.
no, and that they've manufactured it.
Yeah.
It's like they manufactured the boat crossing thing. That wasn't a thing before Brexit.
No, but you are
And then,
not allowed to say the B word.
oh, that's right. And then, but then Lee Anderson sits there on camera and says, "Well, we're going to make immigration a wedge issue." He literally admitted it on camera.
Yeah, and I remember. Yeah.
Oh,
we can't. Yeah, what was it he said? We can't win on the economy, so we're going to use immigration
and trans people. I
and
think
trans.
so.
Yeah, and trans
I
people.
could be wrong.
So just on the issue of trans people, I don't know. Did you hear the story this week that if you don't look right, you could be refused entry into a bathroom? It's insane.
I can't. Yeah. As I do, a disabled person who has to share my bathroom with everyone. And what? Yeah, I don't. I mean, I wish I had the figures of how many trans predators there were compared to male ones.
Now, you don't hear Rupert Lowe asking for that data.
No.
That'd be interesting.
It's just such a nonsense. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. We had Chantal on the other week, and to be fair to her, she didn't actually go into. She didn't want to use the usual trans arguments to discuss because she thought it was a bit boring. But as I said, I would rather go into a unisex toilet and have the option of a trans person being there if a Larry guy was going to come in, because I've been assaulted by several in my lifetime, and they've all been white. None of them been trans people. So, yeah. And the last argument that somebody used against me was, well, men wee on the seat. Piss is piss, love. So do women.
Anyway, moving on. So Boris Johnson, he's been held up as some sort of hero by Nadine Dorries. I don't know if you saw that clip. She was on LBC describing how this was Boris's greatest moment. The best of Boris. We saw the best of Boris during COVID. I don't know. There's a lot. But when she was talking about the best, I'm not sure if it was, under the covers or something she was talking about. But she was...
Can we go back to piss?
So I really don't understand this thing about Boris Johnson has been... his image has been resuscitated in some sense.
I mean, there's no image of him that can be resuscitated. Oh, I mean, the man's banned from Westminster.
For now. Do you think the Tories would try and bring him back?
I don't even know why we're talking about them ever again. I'm joking. I wish we weren't. I don't know what the point would be. And I
Kemi's not doing very well.
Well, maybe she should drop her ego down and have a deputy leader so she could have the odd week off. The arrogant that she is. I don't know what the point would be, because I don't see them being resurrected maybe within my lifetime. I don't know. They've fucked it, and everybody knows it. I just think they're going to be irrelevant for a long time,
I can.
and I don't think he'd come back for that because he wants to be like front and center, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, so yeah, I think there are a few things to say about that. So first of all, yeah, Donald. I was going to say Donald Trump, Boris Johnson.
So close.
But Boris Johnson wouldn't come back unless he's going to be in some sort of really important role. So unless there's a real chance of him being prime minister, because he wants to be prime minister. He doesn't want to be playing second fiddle to Farage. But I think if there's a chance that the Conservatives can, I wouldn't write them off completely, because the reason I say that is back in 2020, when after Johnson won the election in 2019, there was polling done, and it described how the Conservatives, if there was an election held in 2020, the Conservatives would have won a massive majority. Then we saw what happened in 2024. So I think looking at polls now is not probably a good thing. I think there's a chance that they could improve their situation if they move back to the centre, and if they had somebody who is more charismatic than Kemi Badenoch. So if they replace her and they say, look, let's stop chasing Farage, let's start talking about something else, anything else about apart from immigration, I think there's a possibility, because they could rely on Labour not doing very well. So they could pick up some of the bloody nose voters, people who are not happy with Labour and who may have switched to Labour because they were pissed off with the Tories, and okay, they're under new management. And I keep saying on the channel as well, voters have very short memories. People hate the Tories at the moment, and it's only been a year and a half, and they're still doing really badly in the polls. But my greatest criticism of the voters is that they forget. And we could be sitting here in a few years' time talking about how Boris Johnson is leading the Conservative Party again. Like, look at Trump. Trump was kicked out, and then within a year he was resuscitated by the Republican Party. They wanted him back. Like, as soon as he lost.
You're worried Boris is going to do a Trump?
There are a lot of obstacles for him. He'd need to win a seat. There's no seats available at the moment. There's no any safe seat. No Tory is going to give up that.
Elon Musk off as well.
Yeah, and while he'd be willing to do that, no problem. Literally and figuratively. Well, what was it about Donald Trump? Donald Trump was doing something with somebody called Bubba, and then they said they were saying, well, Bubba is actually a nickname for Bill Clinton. But then they discovered that Epstein had a horse called Bubba.
Ghislaine, yeah. Yeah, but like I said on the pod, they make the Marquis de Sade look boring, this lot. So nothing's beyond possibility.
I don't know, guys in the chat, do you think Boris Johnson is going to make a comeback? So we'll ask the chat what they think. Just some other comments. The Tories have always have supporters. They might be silent, but they're there. I agree there with Killer.
Oh no, it doesn't really matter. We were talking the other week about how, did you know in the Tory party you have voting rights from the age of 14?
Yeah, so you're not allowed to vote. They're against people voting until 18, but you can vote in the Conservative Party at 14.
Or you can open your son an account and have 2 votes, can't you?
There's a method to their madness.
I don't know. I'm call me a cynic. But I've been watching these people for a very long time, and they don't tend to play with a straight bat.
And then if you're Jacob Rees-Mogg, you can have the whole thing sewn up, because he has like 25 children or something, doesn't he?
I don't know how Marina didn't throttle him, bless her heart. With them, I just think that all they've got left are hardliners and people nobody's ever heard of. Did you see that James Cartledge at PMQs the other week?
No, what happened?
Unbelievably. It was just, well, I watched it unbeknownst, not knowing anything. And it was shamefully embarrassing. He was woeful, and he just made an absolute prat of himself. Oh, he was convinced that the escaped prisoner was an asylum seeker, but it wasn't. And it got a bit confusing, and he thought Starmer was... No, what was it Starmer he was talking to? I'm not sure it was even Starmer. No, it was Starmer. And then so Starmer's a bit like, oh no, it was Lammy, wasn't it? Who I
Okay, yeah.
genuinely don't like, but I actually got a bit of respect for him off this PMQs because he was like, no, an asylum seeker, another one hasn't escaped. What are you on about? And they were like, he has, yeah. And they tried to use 7 questions on it, and then they had to have a recount. And Hoyle was like, no, you've had your questions. And it turned out another prisoner had been released, but it wasn't an asylum seeker, and that was the confusion. It was just mental. But I'd never heard of him. And then Don tells me that apparently in the Tory meeting that they had before PMQs, she basically said, "Oh, I don't fancy doing it this week. Does anybody want to go?" And he went, "Yeah, I'll do it." And apparently that's how the country's run, like a Sunday League football team. What the
Nadine Dorris in her interview described how Boris Johnson was putting in 18-hour days
in bed.
Yes. Freckle Punny, thanks so much for that super chat. Chomping the Wonder Horse. I think that's related to.
Oh.
Yeah, probably.
Oh
my goodness. I'd like to go. We're almost at the end of the live stream for today, but what would you like to see from the Labour Party going forward? As somebody who has disabilities, as somebody who's concerned about what's happening to, we saw when it came to the PIP payments, they've made it more difficult for people to act. They say that they've increased the amount of money people receive.
It's unbelievable. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd like them to find some humanity, really. And the fact that we've got over a decade's worth of UN reports rightly accusing the UK government of basically psychologically torturing us and then actually torturing us with restrictions and not allowing people to get the benefits and stuff. By right, directly because of how difficult it is to get PIP, I shouldn't be sat here now. I should have been gone years ago because it got me. That's how bad it got. And lots of people aren't here and should be directly because of how the benefit system works, and it's criminal. And I would like to see them address the UN reports. It's never going to happen. They lost it down the back of a cabinet. But just, I don't know, maybe adhere to the human rights laws that this country helped put in place. The Equality Act. Do you remember that? Anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Maybe adhere to that too. We've got a living wage, but it's 10 grand more than the top whack you get for being disabled. And yet our cost of living is roughly estimated to be about 12 grand a year more. So we're double screwed. It's unconscionable. And while I'm here, can I just say a massive thank you to you, because I've been following you for, I don't know how many years you've been doing it. It's got to be 5 or 6 since you're about 500 followers. And there was you for a time. There was you and there was Phil, and nobody else was talking about what the government were doing to disabled people, but you were, and you gave me hope. So thank you so much for that, Max. What you do is so important. I can't overestimate it. No, I mean it. That's why I'm doing it too, because we need more people speaking out about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you and thanks for coming on. But I think it was one of the things that really just blew my mind was some years ago. I think it was during 2020 or 2021 when Therese Coffey was head of the DWP. Yeah, don't vomit.
It's the CPTSD kicking in again. Go on.
But I remember she was interviewed by, I think it was Kay Burley of Sky News, and I can't find the video now. I don't know if I removed it by accident or whatever. But
which one?
But there was one particular one where Kay Burley said to her, "Look, we have this story that's just come in the news about a woman who literally starved to death because she wasn't able to access the support she needed." And what would be like if any normal person, if they heard something like, we just heard a story of somebody who starved to death because they couldn't access benefits, or just somebody starved to death, even just without you going into any more detail, a normal person their first response would be, "Oh my God, that's terrible. oh my goodness, how did that happen? Oh my goodness, like, is there anything we can do? That's what a normal person, and her response was, you've probably seen it, I don't know if you remember it, but it was like, well, we have these benefits that people can access. And we're talking about somebody who is dead. They can't access any benefits now. It's too late. And she was like, yeah, well, we have these benefits that, and we're investing more in, in getting people into work and stuff like this. And when that interview, that was one of the very first times I've actually seen Therese Coffey. I didn't follow her that much. And then she was completely dead to me. This is not a human being. She's not a human being. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm just, it reminded me of a story. I don't know whether it was true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was true, where Boris Johnson allegedly burnt a £50 note to get into the Bullington Club in front of a homeless. Like, and then when I heard that, I was thinking, what sort of person would do that? Like, a normal person would say, fuck you and your club. I'm not going to do that. A normal person would respond in that way. But Boris Johnson didn't. Allegedly. I don't know whether he did, but let's say for the sake of argument he did. What does that tell you about Boris? How could anyone... Like, if I had a friend who came along and told me, yeah, I burnt £50 note in front of a homeless person to get it, I'd say, you're no longer my friend. I don't want anything to do with somebody like that. You don't have any humanity. And I don't know how people could marry Boris Johnson knowing this information. But there's worse, like Boris Johnson has done even worse than that in his career. But how, I don't know, the attraction of, I couldn't sit on the same bus as somebody like that. I'd get off. I'd be so disgusted. Like, I really, and Therese Coffey, for me, this person is dead. And I sort of made a little bit of a goal of mine. Whenever she was interviewed, I was going to do a response video and tear her a fucking new arsehole, because it was like, it was like, I'm not disabled.
They're not human, are they?
But like, I'm not in a situation where I need to rely on support from people. But I just try to put myself in other people's shoes. Imagine, what was that woman going through, where she was asking people for support? She was going down to the job centre. She was going down to ask the DWP for support. And every time she went there, she was probably told to fuck off. Mm-hmm. Or, there's nothing we can do. Yeah. You need to go home and maybe go to a food bank or go somewhere else. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much about this, but it's... And I feel hypocritical because I'm not in that situation, and there are millions of people.
You're raising awareness, love. It's not hypocrisy. We've got more food banks in this country than McDonald's restaurants. I am impressed with your intelligence to not live here.
No, but like, people ask me, why are you interested in this? Because I have friends and family who live in Britain. I've so many friends I've made as a result of this channel. There's a guy called Magic. I'm not going to talk too much about him because I haven't asked his permission. But he's informed me so much about what people are going through with disabilities. And I keep saying, the job of a government is to look after the most vulnerable in society. If it can't do that, then it shouldn't be called a government. What's the point in having a government? Food banks shouldn't exist. If they exist, it's because the government has failed. So what is Sorry, Sally.
I was just going to say, we have a government that is no longer stocked with politicians. It is stocked with neoliberal capitalists with big corp interests.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so that I would stop blowing gaskets, I had to go off and study psychology, because if I can understand something, it takes the sting out of it. I might not agree with it or like it, but if I can look at Therese Coffey, you can't diagnose people unless you see their actions and behaviour constantly. And we get that because we have rolling news now. So it's very easy to look at the likes of Boris Johnson, Nadine Dorries, Therese Coffey, Michael Gove, pick any you want, and diagnose that they have, at the very best, narcissistic personality disorder, potentially antisocial personality disorder, or a mix therein of. Either way, not suitable for politics. We really should be testing people if we're going to have power in this country. If we put them through, mandatory psychological testing for predatory psychological conditions and discount fucking predators, we might get somewhere.
Like we would imagine things like that happen.
Could be politicians.
Yeah, well, we would imagine they would have some sort of checks like that. If you want, maybe it didn't have it in the past, but if you want to become a police officer, you need to do some sort of psychological evaluation.
Do you know, my friend got a job at the Home Office about 18 months ago now. The shit he had to jump through repeatedly for like months. They like want your DNA. They want to know who you went out with 10 years ago. If we did that to politicians, half of them wouldn't be there.
Can you imagine poor Boris Johnson?
Why is it stricter for somebody who processes visas than it is for the Prime Minister?
That's a very good question. Cavan Lad, thank you so much for that support as well. I think we're almost at the end, so I just want to say thank you so much, Sally, for coming on.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It'd be great to have you on again. Thanks to everyone who came on and for smashing the like button. What I'll do is when this video becomes a video, when this live stream becomes a video, I'll get all your details and I'll stick them in the description. So
it's brilliant.
we can send lots of people over to the podcast.
Oh, that'd be lovely. We're trying to get off the ground.
So do you do live shows, or is it just
we haven't as of yet. We're not show people. We're very cautious. So we're sort of feeling our way. At the minute, we're just doing a record once a week, and we sort of split it in two if it goes on a bit.
And how often or when can we find those uploads?
Generally, they come out on a Friday. We try and share them on all the platforms, but we're always on X. Under No Holes Barred Pod, Don McGowan, and I'm Badass Mother on Twitter. I didn't think it through when I said that.
So it's great to have you on.
I stand by it, but you know.
Well, you are badass, so.
Thank you.
So guys, thanks so much for everyone coming on. I'll see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. Mr. E, thank you so much for the support there at the end. And there's a lot of very positive messages being sent to you, Sally, in the chat.
Thank you very much.
So do check out the chat
Thanks,
after we go offline.
I'll have to scroll.
Okay, so thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on Tuesdays. Stay safe. Have a great weekend, and thanks again to Sally for coming on.
Thanks again, Max. Bye bye.
Bye bye.